Good morning.
Morning, Hans. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. I'm very well.
Excellent to hear. I'm just having the other meeting open on another PC, so for those who did not capture the last minute change.
Is that the one sent out yesterday? Sorry.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
is.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we've joined that one then.
Yeah, you're in the good room.
Obviously.
That's a good start for the week, isn't it?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, thank you.
So people are switching rooms, so just one more second.
Morning.
Morning. Just guiding the last people to the right room. So for those of you good. So I think most of the people who registered for this session found their way to the session. I hope the image is clear and you see me and you hear me. And if you want, don't hesitate to switch on your camera. I'm looking like on a big monitor where I see at this moment 2 faces, but maybe I should switch to gallery view so I can see all of you. And let's see, okay, most of the people here found their way. Just a second. Okay, so cool. Just going to switch my view here, and then we're fully set and ready. So very welcome in this Copilot session. As you can see, it's about keeping the sales muscles in shape. It's kind of like the best metaphor I could come up with. Because, well, on the one hand, it's not specifically a product training, although I noticed when I talked to your colleagues in France and the Netherlands and Belgium, that in the field of Copilot, there may still be some questions concerning what it does and what it is. So we'll start in a minute with this kind of tour de table. But it's mainly about how can we prepare our customers by way of having interesting talks with them, asking interesting questions, getting, of course, interesting answers, thinking about the value of AI, thinking about our relevance in this, well, era in which for the first time in 30 years, I witness, and the more elder people among us will probably confirm this. We are living the most spectacular technological advance seen in terms of speed and in terms of impact on businesses. I know if you would ask that to someone outside the world of technology, they may say like, huh? What are you talking about? And part of our mission is, of course, to help people understand the impact and understand what it's all about. The purpose of this session is to be very interactive. So raise your hand if you have a question, or just violently interrupt me by switching on your microphone and making a statement or asking a question. You can also use the meeting chat. The meeting chat is open on my big screen, so I can see whenever someone wants to react or has a question, or maybe has some interesting contributions, which is also the purpose. It's about co-learning. That's why we're all together. And in terms of interactivity, normally I would have had the plan to put you every now and then in small groups to discuss certain items. Some of your colleagues told me that they'd rather do that like in a big group, because then they can learn from each other in a more effective way. So those of you in favor of remaining the 17 of us together can now raise their hand using the raise hand button in the Teams meeting. So then we can have a little vote. So those of you in favor of remaining in a big group, which of course would presuppose that everybody interacts a little bit. So, and the majority has voted for remaining in a big group. Cool. Okay. Well, the people remaining who did not vote, I hope you will also feel comfortable in the context of how we plan to do things. Good. Now, for those of you who don't know me, which might well be the case, my name is Hans, and part of my happiness is driven by the simple fact that two of my passions today float seamlessly together. On the one hand, there's NLP, like in natural language processing, which has to do with technology, which has to do with the artificial brain, which has to do with generative AI, with Copilot and things like that. And on the other hand, there is NLP, like in neuro-linguistic programming. I see I still have the French slide on, but I'll translate it for you. And neuro-linguistic programming is like how the brain works, the modeling of the brain, the modeling of systems, and it has to do with also AI, but then in the sense of authentic intelligence. So there's artificial intelligence, there is authentic intelligence. And the purpose of a product or a solution like Copilot, or ChatGPT is to promote a third kind of intelligence, also AI, but then augmented intelligence. Okay, and augmented intelligence means that we use our brain and we use what AI gives us, and we put it together in an outcome that is original, that is authentic, that is ethical, that is secure, and so on and so forth. So the three types of AI could already be an interesting topic to, well, have a conversation about with your customers. So that's me. Of course, in the last, I think, 1 year, 10 months, more or less, I have been doing practically nothing but evangelize on AI. I don't have any stakes, nor in ChatGPT, nor in Copilot, nor in Microsoft, but it's just like, well, informing people, both partners, people in a commercial role, as well as heads of department, company owners. So it's very interesting to see how it lives, and also to see how big sometimes the gap is between what we know and what they know, or what they realize in terms of impact. Now, some of you are probably experienced, some of you may be less experienced, and I will share with you 2 videos we made. One, an episode 1 from Zero to Cloud Hero, where we go back to, well, yeah, maybe the 80s, more or less, and just walk in 15 minutes through the history of computing, because it contains a lot of seeds that still explain certain behaviors today when we talk with customers, certain enthusiastic reactions, but also the reluctancy some people have, the objections they may formulate. So that video points out a little bit how things finally got to where they are right now. And the second video is more about how does Microsoft fit in all this. So it means that we are going to have a helicopter view over the platform as a service, the software as a service, infrastructure as a service as a bottom, and then have a look at the different flavors of products that Microsoft brings on the market and where exactly they fit in without going too much into detail. So these ones will be shared in the chat. I'll do it during the break, so then maybe you can already have a look at it at noon. And these are the preliminary videos. Now, if I have a question for you to kick off, and you can take a moment to think about it, but in a world driven by AI and driven by technology, how will we remain relevant in our role? What will make us worth contacting, worth calling, worth setting up meetings with? And in the same logic, what will be relevant for your customers than for their customers in the future? How can you inspire your customers to remain relevant for their customers by providing maybe technology? And that includes already part of the answer to question 1. And then the third one is, okay, how can we support people in remaining relevant? It's kind of a helicopter summary. So the floor is open. Any ideas are welcome. And I'm very eager to learn about, your opinion on that. And while you're thinking, I will lower the raised hand so I can see who has questions or who wants to contribute. So let's start with question 1. What will make us relevant? Who kicks off with the first answer? And don't forget to unmute your microphones, of course.
Hey Hans, Ashley here. Yeah, I think you touched on it a moment ago, but I suppose the link between AI and the purchasing of technology, basically.
Yeah. So the combination of the authentic intelligence, if I understand this correctly, and the technology surrounding it, and being able to constantly filter out authenticity out of that. Yeah. Anyone else? I know on a Monday morning, it's a fairly philosophically existential question to kick off the week, but who else? What keeps us relevant in our role?
I think also, sorry, just on this one, face to face, if you wanted to meet somebody face to face, that's going to be really important.
Yeah. There is this B2B aspect, business to business, but also, in other words, belly to belly. So you need to, well, have lunch, dinner, or meet people in real life. Yeah, it's very true.
Yes,
Other,
I will force also that idea, because I think we are dealing with humans, so there's a lot of emotions that I think AI cannot detect it. So it's important to us to be present, to see emotions, and also to have creative. So
yeah, thank you. So the attention for emotions, because indeed, even though we call it artificial intelligence, it's much rather artificial probability with a high precision rate, but it doesn't have any emotional impact, even though in Copilot you can do emotion analysis and so on and so forth. But yeah, other one last one. Someone we have not yet heard, and we are 19, so there are 19 voices waiting to contribute. How can we remain relevant? No one?
I guess by just like building true relationships with people. So kind of similar to the obviously you can't build a relationship with like AI or a robot or whatever. You like struggle to, there wouldn't be like that emotional connection. So I guess in our roles we have to build real relationships. You can't really do that with just AI.
Thank you, Matt. And Matt, by the way, if you look in the meeting chats, we are all together in another meeting room. So join us over there, maybe. And then you also have the image and the sound.
Right. Yeah, I did wonder why I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, that's the reason. So in the chat, you have the right link. Yeah. Thanks. I'll close that meeting room here. Thank you. See you there. So one other contribution, I don't know if you captured the sound, but it's also about that emotional part, that working with emotions of people, which technology can not do, fortunately. And part of that is also, well, learn or can constantly work on our conversational skills, because it's funny, but recently I published this book, Beyond Words, and it's all about conversation tactics. It's about how you can improve your conversations, your impact, and how you can prepare for conversations. And I remember that I used to sell a lot of communication training, and I still do. And very often people say, HR departments or purchase officers, they say like, Hans, our people, they communicate quite well, and it's not a priority, you see. And so it kind of gets, off the record. Today, with artificial intelligence and with people challenging Copilot and challenging ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool, there's constantly this messaging of, look, it's all about the art of prompting. It's all about how you ask questions to the tool if you want to get good results. And all of a sudden, I now revamped my communication training into the art of prompting. And everybody is like, wow, yeah, when can we do it? And no problem that my people will be half a day or one day off the work floor. So the communication part, which is what distinguishes us from, or distinguished us largely from technology, it's now getting also to a level of parity. Those of you who have been working with Copilot or ChatGPT, sometimes you really have like the feeling there's someone on the other side who actually understands me, who understands the content, who understands my emotions, which is not true, but it kind of looks like that. So we as human beings, we are challenged even more than before to kind of make a difference in that area too, by maybe asking more challenging questions, by maybe triggering more curiosity in the heads of the people we deal with, by maybe changing and constantly be alert what makes our conversations different from the ones someone could have with Copilot, or someone could have with ChatGPT, or with Claude, which is the constitutional AI chatbot. So I think this is an interesting point of attention, to be constantly aware of how we interact with people, not only providing answers to the prompts that we get from our customers, but also proactively informing them, inspiring them, sharing knowledges, challenging them by asking questions, by being really curious, which AI at this point is not yet. Feel free if you have any reflections or any ideas on that. And meanwhile, we are actually working within the tandem of Bechtel and Microsoft, as you can see here at the bottom. So it's mainly a Microsoft-focused training. And Microsoft is a software company, a services company, software and services. They also play a little role in the field of hardware with their surfaces, etc. They might play an increasingly important role once they start developing their own chips. And in the world of AI, all major players are reserving lots of money to invest in their own technology, because NVIDIA cannot do all of it by themselves, but AMD is investing, Microsoft is investing. So we are living a very interesting period in technology, but the things that do not change in terms of foundation is that when we talk about Microsoft, we talk about, on the one hand, infrastructure as a service. So it means that everything that used to run on-prem, we can now lift and shift it to a cloud environment. And at Microsoft, it's called Azure. On top of that infrastructure, we have platform as a service, which is everything that has to do with operating systems and everything related to making the machines work and making them secure and making the network fine, etc. Also available in cloud contexts. Then we have the software as a service, which is mainly focused on all the services that help the user to be productive, like Microsoft 365, like a lot of Dynamics and all the other pieces of software that on a subscription base you can just start using to empower your users, to empower applications, to manage devices, and to secure data, whatever type of data or user of application or device it is, to finally get into that world where if I would ask any company owner, like, would it make a difference for you if you could work in an AI-driven, secure, productive, agile, and uninterrupted business environment, I think chances are that they will say, well, yeah, why not? So that's the roof of the house. And that's also a very interesting question. How important is it for you to work in an AI-driven, secure, productive, agile, and uninterrupted environment? And from that question, you can then, like a waterfall, go down into the different components that would be required to do that. And these components, we could see them today, since we are in a cloud environment, as if we would go shopping. If you go into the Microsoft cloud, it's as if we would enter this environment and then help our customers to find their way into the world of Azure, into the world of security, into the world of Copilot, by inspiring them, by asking questions, by guiding them, by engaging in conversations, and making sure that they find all the pieces they need in order to proceed with their businesses. So that's an interesting point of view. If you look at this whole cloud, in Belgium, we have got this chain that's called the Colruyt. It's a big departmental store. And I always envision people with their, cards like walking through, oh, I need a bit of a virtual server. I need a bit of virtual network. I need some virtual machines. I need some Microsoft 365. You put it together, and then you kind of start cooking with it, and you create your company in a very agile way, in a very flexible way, by putting all the pieces together, scaling up, scaling down, scaling out, scaling in whenever it is required. And it helps also to kind of visualize a little bit how all the pieces hang together. And that's what we're going to do with Copilot today. So that's the main topic and the Copilot. We will have some more sessions. We will have a session focusing on security. We will have a session focusing on Azure. We'll also have a session focusing on services and service potential that Bechtel and Microsoft together develop to help customers beyond what is just a transaction, to be able to move from, and that's another quote I have written on a sheet of paper and it hangs on the wall in my office, to move from transactions to interactions. We move from transactions to interactions. And interactions mean long-term growing engagements. And that makes me think of my accountant, Bob. Bob is a guy who runs an accountancy agency with about 30 people on the payroll. And I think a couple of years ago, it was pre-COVID, he came to me and he said, like, Hans, do you know? And he named a partner. He said, do you know partner XYZ? I said, yeah, I do. Why? Well, they fascinate me. I say, well, tell me more about it. Do you have a problem with your current partner? And he said, no. Our current IT partner is a dream. Whenever there's an issue, we call, and even far within the service level agreement timing, they resolve it, and we're always continuously operational. I say, then why the interest for the other partner? And then he said something like, okay, they challenge me, they send me updates, they invite me to webinars. And in the beginning, I thought it was a bit like spam and I didn't really react. But then I started to read some of their newsletters and some of their content. And yeah, I feel tempted. And 6 months later, they changed because of that kind of, I don't know, inspirational part, that kind of proactive part, that kind of, I'll take you shopping and I'll tell you what's in the warehouse. And that apparently helped in the decision. So with regard to your customers, Copilot, is it known? What kind of questions do you get with regard to Copilot, and how familiar do you feel with Copilot? You can use the chat. If you say like, my vocal cords are not yet on temperature, give your answer in the chat window. How familiar do you feel with AI and Copilot? Let's take that as a first question. If you would have to give yourself a score on a scale of 10, 10 being, oh, I'm a specialist, 0, where would it be? I also like to see some, a 2 out of 10, Danielle says. Very honest and appreciate that. 2, 3. Keep on going. 2, all right. 4, 2. Okay, so indeed, yeah, keep on sending these. To be honest, not very familiar and completely not okay with having customer conversations. Yeah, indeed. Well, let's hope that by noon, comfort level will raise. So it's really pretty low on all levels. Yeah, good to know, good to know. Fine. And now the second question is, do you get already a lot of interesting questions or interest questions from your customers when you have them on the phone? Is it a topic that every now and then pops up and you say like, oh, please no? Or is it something your customers are not really working with? So answer yes if you get regular interactions or questions, and no if you say like, my customers, they never ask about it. So Adam says yes. And unless, so Marissa says no questions. And we keep on going. No. Okay, no specific questions on AI. That's an interesting observation indeed. Yeah. So we have 2 yeses and 3 nos, 4 nos. A 5th no is added. Okay, that's interesting. And it's a little bit, I had a customer call on Copilot, but I did not lead it. Yeah, okay, obviously. Yeah, it's interesting as well. So unless people have been living on another planet and they are not even aware of what is happening in terms of AI, they should at least know something about it. Maybe within conversations, if they don't proactively ask questions, because it does not fit maybe in the context of the call. But one thing is sure, and if I go back to Bob and other cases, part of our role and part of what makes us different and relevant is like maybe also help understand our customers where we are going to, so that in the end, if they take decisions in the field of AI, or if they kind of raise their awareness, they should never say like, strange that my contact at Bechtel never said anything about that. And so you understand, it's like, be there. You don't have to be specialists. Yeah, it's not a matter of knowing everything that is about Copilot and about AI, but at least know a little bit the impact of what it can mean. And so it might be a good plan, if you all agree, that maybe we just take a moment and level out a little bit what it's all about today, and because it's spectacular and it's interesting that we at least have a little view of the history maybe, or what AI is all about. I guess we all know ChatGPT. Who uses ChatGPT actively? And again, use the chat if you don't want to answer with your voice. Who uses ChatGPT actively? Yeah, that's good. So we know ChatGPT. And we also know that there is a free version and there is a paying version. So I was one of the first, I think, to take a paying subscription. And we know that what ChatGPT does, it's developed by a company called OpenAI, a company that is very, very good friends with Microsoft. And because when OpenAI started back in 2015, it started out as a research and development organization, a non-profit organization, by the way. And then their CEO, Sam Altman, he realized that in order to do large-scale research and development, they would need also a lot of people to train their models. And so ChatGPT became something public. Microsoft joined them and said, well, you will need a lot of calculation power, you will need a lot of storage, and you will need a lot of security and bandwidth, etc. We'll provide that in our Azure data centers. We'll even provide you with a supercomputer to make ChatGPT work. But in return, we want your large language model and the abiding technology in exclusive like usage for our developments. And so history went on, and Microsoft had their own OpenAI ChatGPT version, which they included in Copilot, but in a different environment. So on the one hand, ChatGPT, you know that everything you do in ChatGPT, unless you explicitly mark that you don't want to do it in the paying version, but then you would lose all of your history, everything that you do and interact is used to train the large language model behind ChatGPT. Now you can say, Hans, large language model, I've heard about it, but what is it? A large language model is a model, a mathematical model that is capable of predicting the next word in a sentence, and then the next word and the next word. And training means that you have to give it a lot of information. And then if I simplify it, I would give it a sentence. I would break the sentence halfway and then challenge the large language model to guess the next word. And it will guess it maybe 5 times in a wrong way, and the 6th time it will guess the right next word, and then the system will say, hey, good job, and it will know. And as such, it completes sentences, and it completes pages, and it completes full books if you would want. So that is the large language model. And the more we feed it, the more it is trained, the more it will know how to form sentences. But obviously, if I would use this for my company information, and I would ask ChatGPT, hey, here is my latest finance report. Could you please make a summary of it? Then we know that all of that information is also used to train the model. And chances are that if someone asks a similar question, they may find answers containing stuff that you fed to the system. So that's something we don't want. It's like you want ChatGPT, if it would be a person, you would like it to be your trusted ally. I can interact with you, you know everything. I suppose it's a very smart Einstein, but you wouldn't like Einstein to go out then and go to your competitor and say like, hey, if you have a question, I know the data because they taught me how to reply in that kind of circumstance. So that's something we don't want. But it's a very nice playground. You can do an immense lot of things with it. Whether it is secure, I would say no, but it's good. And it helps to develop AI in the sense of text-driven large language models. And so the GPT, meaning generative, it does stuff, it generates stuff. P is pre-trained, so it means it has been trained. And transformer is the name of the technology that is used to kind of put all these words together, find the right combinations, and then crash it out to the user. So Microsoft uses the same technology, but they include it in their browser. So who is familiar with the Copilot in the Edge browser or the Google browser if you use an extension? Who knows the Copilot browser edition? And feel free to use the chat to answer, so I have a little view of how familiar it is or not. Okay, so if you are a ChatGPT user and keep on answering, so I have a full view. We are like 22 now. It's always interesting to see a little bit. Okay, if you use ChatGPT at this moment and you say, Hans, now that you tell me about the security and about the training of the model, I kind of get a little bit scared. Well, the good news is that you can switch to the Copilot in the browser. It uses exactly the same technology as ChatGPT, but you will kind of log in with your Microsoft 365 account, and you get all of the luxury of ChatGPT, but in a safe environment. So you can open, and I'll give a short demo of it. You can open whatever document you want in the browser window. It could be a web page. It could be a PDF document. It could even be an email in Outlook Web Access. And you can use that window, which you switch on or off, and just interact with that document. And you know that you are not training any system. You know that all of the conversations remain within the company, remain within your safe environment. I think for professional applications, this is, well, something important to know. And it is also a very interesting answer to people who would ask questions about, hey, Hans, there is Copilot. Is there a way of trying it out? Are there demos or whatever that I can use? Well, there are not. But what you can say is, look, guys, play a little bit with that ChatGPT-like thing in the browser. If I say browser, as you can see, I'm using Edge. Edge is the browser that comes with Windows. I have not yet installed it, but if you use Google Chrome, there is also a ChatGPT extension available for you, Google Chrome. Firefox and other browsers, I still need to dig it out. But now what do you have when you are in a browser like the Edge one is that little button, and it's right on top there. You see where the mouse is floating, and that will open up the Copilot window. So it's actually your, well, assistant, you know, the one that can help you to ask questions. And let's maybe challenge the thing. And I will open a document. Let me say, like, there is this PDF that my boss sent me on certain data. And let me just, okay, so that we have a good view, because actually, apparently the monitor is like having a little weird behavior. Fine. So this is a PDF document someone sent me. So I open it. I don't open it in Acrobat. I just open it in the browser, which is perfectly normal. I will now switch on Copilot. And since I don't really feel like reading the document, I will just ask, as if I would do it with ChatGPT, I will just ask, give me a summary of the document open in the browser. So you also see that I made some slight typing errors, which is not intentionally, but it can live with that. So now it's giving me a summary of the document. And I know that since I'm logged in with my Microsoft 365 account, that all the information in the document, in the summary, is like really protected, encrypted, and not used to train any document. And so it provides me with some additional possible questions that I could ask, like tell me, what is this about? What is the region? How to access whatever? And it also comes with references. Where did you find that summary? And so you can click on, and then it will guide you to the part in the document where the information comes from. It's called grounding. So what I have done here is I just used a free, safe ChatGPT alternative that comes with my browser to use artificial intelligence and generative AI to the best extent. So what have we learned? First, it is there, it is free, it is protected, and it's a very interesting way to start learning about what it can do and how it works. So suppose that you would go onto a website, let's say the Digital Comfort Factory, for instance. This is a company website with a lot of things, and I don't want to really read this, so summarize this website, please. I'm always like very polite. So now it will kind of get through the website, and here is a summary of the key points from what is on that site. So that's one way of working with the Copilot free edition in a secure way. Now, I may say like, hey, this is an interesting website. Write an email with a request for information to the company. So I don't really feel like writing emails myself. So I'm just going to ask the tool to look at the site and then come back with an email. So now it's just writing that email. And you see it's all included. You see references to the company, you see references to the product. Of course, it's a Copilot. So one thing we should never do is like copy that sentence and then just put it in a mail without rereading it and sending it out. Don't do it. But it's just like such a time saver. If you had a meeting or you're on the website of a customer or whatever, just ask it to write whatever it is that you want to share with the customer, then copy it, bring it to your email, and off you go. If you would replace that web page here with, for instance, Outlook Web Access, Outlook through a browser window, you can open a mail and just ask that Copilot to write a reply to the mail that is open. And that comes totally for free. Another thing you can do on top here is switch from the chats module to the compose module. And the compose module allows you to write documents, emails, blog articles, reports in a certain tone, funny, enthusiastic, whatever, short, medium, long, doesn't matter. So you can just give the instruction and it will generate what it is that you have been asking the tool to come up with. So this all comes for free and it's called Copilot within the browser. Previously, it was called Bing Chat Enterprise. Today, it's just Copilot. And it's part of the bigger family because if I go back to the slide representation and we have a look at what Copilot is all about, we could, and I have this wheel, this one over here, which I'm going to blow up a little bit. So if you hear Copilot, this is what it's all about. And what I have just shown you is this part, Copilot within the browser. So you have, previously it was Bing Chat Enterprise, but also a possibility totally for free to create images, not yet movies, that comes, but images, and it's included and it's for free. And it's the ideal step up to later go to Microsoft Copilot in Microsoft 365, which will then open up the paradise gates to using Copilot in all of your applications, whether it's Teams, Word, and have exactly the same kind of interactions. But instead of asking something on an open document in a browser, you can now ask questions on everything that you work on. Like, give me an overview of the latest interactions I had with person A. Give me a summary of what we discussed in the latest meeting on a certain topic. Create a PowerPoint presentation on that team. Or, hey, this is a document I've written. Make a presentation out of that document. Or this is a meeting summary. Write an offer based on what we discussed in the meeting summary. So it will be your assistant, your co-pilot in really professional activities, and it's part of your working environment. Now, Bechdel has like 5,000 licenses that they distribute till, I think they're a sort of test license, your exception to the rule. Is it something you also have on your Microsoft accounts? And feel free to answer again with yes or no. So the Microsoft 365 Copilot is available for, well, a limited number of people, but maybe you are part of them. So do you have it? Do you have the Copilot? Yes, Laura says that's good. And Daniel, 2, fine. So the best way to inspire customers is, well, previously they said, eat your own dog food. I'd rather say, drink your own champagne. Just use it. Make the most out of it. So Polly does not have it, but James and Daniel and Laura do have it. Are you using it today? Do you find your way in using it? And if so, what are you using it for? Those who have it. And you can answer by voice if you want. Then we have some vocal feedback. What are you using Copilot for? Not using it fully. Okay, very honest answers. So where are we in our journey with regard to Copilot? Trying to not fully, yeah, customer, indeed, yeah. So it's summarize emails, help to write emails, indeed. It's very interesting because it's not only a tool that helps us creatively, but also in terms of knowledge, in terms of drawing up things, but it's also kind of a mind shift. It's like you would have someone at your side, but you keep on forgetting to ask help. You say, I'm just so much into it. Oh yeah, true, there is my Copilot assistance here. So it is also a reflex that you have to kind of train. Like, hey, I'll ask that to Copilot. I'll do that with Copilot. And what you can do is really like very, 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 it's a wide range of things that you can do. I've just shown you a few examples of how you can use it in the free version, like here with the websites. I could also, well, just ask it to help me to prepare for certain meetings or certain interactions. And like I have this meeting with a CFO on a large migration to Azure. He is a bit of a red disk type. I think you're familiar with the disk types. So the red, the blue, the green, and the yellow ones, each with their own traits and their own ways of handling things. Write a role play in which a conversation, a possible conversation, is simulated. I did not give it too much information. You know that the more you prompt, the more information you give about what the migration is exactly about, who you will be talking to, how long it has been going on. This will help, of course, to get a much better answer. But here it is. So you got Sarah Johnson and you got John Smith, and well, it will provide us with sort of a conversation now the way ChatGPT would do it. But this is now like fully protected, as you know. And so maybe there are a few interesting arguments that you can filter out of this using this free tool. If we take this to the level of Microsoft 365, then we get into our working environment, where when you open up Microsoft 365 through the web or in any other application, this is what you see. And so you see Copilot, and you get into a screen where you can just ask questions. Okay, so let's see. I know that give me the latest interactions with Laure Bailly. Maybe you know her. She's she's coordinating all the training sessions. So I could go and look into my Teams. I could go and look into my email, but now it's just gonna go through everything that I have in terms of information regarding Laura, and it will come back with a short summary, you know, of anything of the latest things that we've done. So you can ask many questions. There's also this grounding. So you see it refers to the emails and the items where the data comes from. And so I can ask, are there any upcoming to-dos for me, what would be a good next step to proceed, etc. So this is one way from the very start, when you open up your Microsoft 365 via the web or via the Office application, today it's called the Microsoft 365 application, to just ask anything. If you don't know what to ask, you will find here on the bottom where the mouse moves, this view prompt sign. So this it brings you to the Microsoft Copilot lab, where you have categories: catch up, create, ask. And if we go into the all prompts, look what happens. It's going to open up an additional window, bringing you to the Microsoft Copilot lab, showing you all the applications where Copilot is available. So it's OneNote, Whiteboard, PowerPoint, Word, Teams, Loop, etc., etc. And then you can say, okay, what are things that I can ask? Let's say that I am in my Copilot for Microsoft 365. Catch up, create, understand, edit, ask. And so understand, and create, write an intro, brainstorm, help me write, and so on and so forth. So bottom line, I'm a customer. I'm just like curious in knowing a little bit about Copilot. How, with what we know at this moment, could we answer in just like one sentence? Okay, so what is it, and how could I just like ignite the conversation with what we know now? You feel that you know enough by now. I'll leave you a few moments to just come up with something. If, meanwhile, you have already launched Copilot in your browser, just don't be afraid to just ask it. And I'll do that. So let's see what it comes up, and maybe you're doing the same exercise as we speak. So, oh, that was fast, and that's it. So I'm curious to see what you come up with, and feel free either to share it in the chats, which is what I'm going to do right now. So this is what my Copilot came up with. And it reads like, it is like having your own AI Copilot for navigating the vast landscape of Microsoft tools and services. It's not just about answering questions, it's about empowering productivity, streamlining workflows, and enhancing creativity. Wow, this is well written, but I wouldn't say it like that, I would give it my own tone, but it's a good start, Imagine a personalized assistant that adapts to your needs, whether you're managing accounts, collaborations with colleagues, exploring possibilities. With Copilot, you're not just using AI, you're elevating the entire Microsoft experience. Give me a hanky. It's like, beautifully said. How would you do it? What would be your answer? Who feels like sharing? And I'll play the customer, and my question is, hey, I heard about Copilot. Can you give me a little heads up what it's all about? So Ashley also asked it. So you're specifically now, in this case, getting into the Microsoft Copilot for Sales, which is, if we go back to our wheel that I just showed, it's this part over here in the business applications. So that is the Microsoft Copilot specifically for sales. It's incorporated in Dynamics 365. Not all customers use Dynamics, so they will not all have the Microsoft Copilot for sales. Those who use Microsoft 365 can activate a license for, I think it's about 30 pounds or something, 30 euros, more or less in that category. And in here, it is kind of included already in the solution, right? So we have more questions coming up or more descriptions coming up. Feel free to copy all of these and use them in how you would answer the question about Copilot. And also sense for yourself how your level of comfort raises as you use parts of these elements. How it is like, oh yeah, cool. AI, it's just like an assistant. And how would it be for you to have like a full-time coworker at your site whom you don't have to pay like a fortune every month to help you in getting things done? Question mark. Because 30 euros is nothing. One question I like to ask is like, how much is an hour of work worth for you? Well, most people will answer something between 60 and 110 euros. So I have a full-time assistant that helps me find out things, get things sorted, write things, create things for barely like 30 euros per month. And what it does, well, as I said, it helps you to create, it helps you to discover, it helps you to unveil information, to dig into information. It bridges the gap between the vast amount of information you have on the one hand and you as a user, and you can just use your natural language to talk with it. If you go into the old search methods, still available, of course, in SharePoint and others, you really need to be very specific in what you search. And what you search should also be correctly spelled. So it's keyword, index word driven. AI is generative. It's semantically driven. So it understands the meaning. Even if I make typos, it can understand where I want to go to. So it's intelligent. And so I can ask it, and it will know where to find the things that I need. I'm curious to see the intermediate scores, like the ones where they were like 1, 2, 3, in terms of how comfortable do you feel? Do you have the impression that with the very short injection that you have had now, it kind of raises? So feel free to put your intermediate score in the chat. So how comfortable would you feel now to answer questions like, what is Copilot? So it went up to 4 to 5. That's a good sign. And the other ones, feel free to participate as well. It rose to a 5 out of 10, 5. That's good. Using it will definitely make it a 7 or an 8. Good. So there is a substantial increase, at least in the 5 or 6 answers that appeared on screen. I hope everybody else is still there as well, because it's difficult for me to kind of see who is there. I see a lot of K, M, M, L, B, and other initials, but I'm confident that you're all hanging in. Now, before maybe we have a little break, let me just show a few more small things, and maybe in the break you can then just experiment with it. You know, I'm not that much of an Excel user, but when I use Excel, I very often find it time consuming to find my way into well, formulas and things like that. So Copilot, which is available here as well, as you can see, I switch it on and off, can help me also as a ignorant user to get more out of my Excel sheets. Like, for instance, we have here this one column with names and surnames. And I know there is formulas that can help me kind of make separate columns, one with the first name, one with the second name, but I do have no clue what the formula was again. So I can just in the prompt area ask split or get the, let's see, this is the table I have, get the first names in a separate column, get the first name, maybe I have to say like of the campaign owners in a separate column. Okay, so I'm just asking using natural language. So there are campaign owners and I would just like to have their first names in a separate column. And so now it's going to have a look at the data and it's going to generate the formula. But I just wanted to do exactly and add it. So there it is, insert the column. And so now I have a column with the first names in it. I can do the same for the last name. The instructions should be like split, but hey, this is something well done. Now, we're still here. I would like to have like a view of the figures. Make a temperature map of the values in conversion rate. So I would like to see some colors. It's actually a conditional formatting I will be doing now, but I just asked Excel, like, could you maybe add some colors to the conversion rate map? And there it is. So now it highlights the low values and it definitely highlights the top value. And so now I can like use it in this way. I can also just ask like maybe over here, let's see, analyze the data in the table. So there's a lot of data. I'm a bit lazy to find out and to create graphs maybe for my next upcoming presentation. So what I'm asking now is really very generic. So it says like, okay, this is something that I found, but would you like to see other insights? Yeah, of course. Okay, so I'm just going to click on other insights. And so it's going to create, like you see, as I click, all kinds of conclusions that we can draw from this map and then say, add all insights to the grids. And look what happens now. It's going to create this separate window with all of the graphs in there ready for one or the other conclusion or presentation or something I want to share with the customer in terms of their transactions or whatever. So this is just like a small example of how Copilot within Excel in this case can help you to, well, do things, to jump to conclusions, to be more performant. And in the same way, we could ask Copilot, but in this case, it would be the Copilot in PowerPoint to create presentations from a certain file. Create a presentation from a file, create it from content, create a slide about something, and it will just generate the content as we speak. So it's not only answering questions, giving you information, it is also creating things, writing things, creating PowerPoint slides, like create a presentation on the topic of let's say artificial intelligence. You may have a customer who says, do you have any information on artificial intelligence you could share with me? Well, just let's ask PowerPoint to do it, create a new draft. Okay. So I'll maximize the window. And so now it's going to use all the information it finds, not only within the tenant, but also on the World Wide Web, to kind of draft a presentation. And let's see what it made. It made a presentation, artificial intelligence, unlocking the future. What is it? What are some of the applications? What are the ethical implications? What is the future? What is the conclusion? And that's it, like 6 summary slides. Off you go. You can brand it. You can even, I did not do that, but give a document as a reference document for the styling. And I couldn't have done it like in 30 seconds. So yet another example of how this whole Copilot thing, depending on the role you are in, and that's something we will come back to in the second part, it's like, how can I use that now as a CEO? How can I use it in sales and marketing? How can I use it in IT or in finance or in HR to actually sense the value of the tool? I would suggest we have like, it's 11:10. We have a 15-minute break or 10 minutes. It's whatever suits you the best, knowing that officially we stop at 12, but those who want to hang around and ask some more questions or add some interactivity beyond, you're more than welcome to stay a little longer. And there's also the possibility after this session to kind of get in touch with me for individual exchanges. Maybe you have a customer on a specific topic, you would like to have some feedback, a soundboard, just feel free. But let's get back here at 11, let's say 25. Is that good for all of you? 11:25. I added 3 things to the chat window. The first one we are going to use right away. And the last one, those of you who are already there, and while we wait for the other ones, so you have like the link that says Beyond Words. I introduced the little book I wrote, and I also used Copilot to build my own little chatbot. And just to position it a little bit, if you look at ChatGPT, ChatGPT gets its content from 95 million web pages. It kind of put in a box, and that's where it gets the info from. Microsoft Copilot, as we used it in the browser, gets its info from the World Wide Web. Microsoft Copilot in Microsoft 365 gets its input from your work environment and the information that you can access and not other information. And so you can also create your own little Copilot, which is what I did with Beyond Words, and it actually gets information out of the book. So you can ask it questions like, I'm preparing for this tricky conversation with my boss, with a colleague, with my kids, or whatever. Give me some tips to make this a good conversation, for instance. And so you can interact with the book, and it will only get information out of the book. And so far, the publicity spot. During the break, I'll get rid of this image. As you've seen, I didn't have a slide for coffee break, so I just asked Copilot, I'm about to have a coffee break and I need a slide to announce it. Can you make one? And so that's what it came up with. And augmented reality, well, I added the time to get back in action, which is about now. So I hope you're all there. and fully set and ready for some more fun. And let's have some interactive fun, and I will launch my next slide. And if you use the link in let's see if it shows up well. If not, I'm gonna bring it onto screen like that. Just hold on. It's gonna be there in a second. I have a question for you. We have been talking about the product. We have been talking about what AI can be for a company. Let's now just have a look at how that could fit in the business needs of our customers. And I have a question that is like, what keeps a CEO awake at night? And so I see some people already answered. So my answer was business continuity. Someone else answered cybersecurity, business goals, migrations, and automation processes. Yeah, I don't know if that is really something a CEO will be bothered with. I think it's more the CTO, but indeed it's an observation that lives. I'm looking forward to some more answers. So the way it works is you have got either on your phone or in the web browser, if you use the link that is in the meeting chat, you can just answer the first question, what keeps the CEO awake at night, scroll down and then just say like submit. And then you will get a thank you screen, and you can then say like, okay, I want to resubmit an answer, and that would then be for the second question. So I only have like one answer from the audience, so I think there must be more. And don't be afraid if you answer twice the same. So what keeps a CEO awake at night? So in terms of business challenges, that is, what drives them? What makes them say to, for instance, the CEO or the CFO, like, okay, good, we will reserve the budget for something. What is it that would make them say that? So let's see, normally this should add up automatically when new answers come in. Let me see. Yeah, okay, it works. That's good. Managing growth, keeping up with the pace of change. Yeah. Retaining top talent, absolutely. Maintaining a competitive edge. Yeah. The business continuity, indeed. Revenue and profitability. Yeah. Market competition strategy, security. Oh, let's keep that one open for a moment. Any other things you can think of where the CEO might say, like, this is mission critical for us? Obviously, we are asking ourselves this question because if we talk about AI and we are talking to someone in the role of decision maker or someone who is managing a business, what will drive them to accept and invest 30 euros per month per user in AI will obviously be different from the interests of the CFO or the CTO or the CMO or the sales responsible or the HR person. So any other input here? The line is still open, so you can just use your imagination. If 8, yeah, security, staying ahead of competitors, maintaining revenue and profitability. Yeah. Imagine the chief executive officer who is in front of the share price, in front of the board of directors. That would exactly be the story. And having to, well, explain why the shares are at a certain level, why they went down, how they can go up again. So these are all strategic things that the CEO, which would typically be the combination of someone with a vision and a good number cruncher, would be, well, worried about. Now, if we take that to the next level, and compliance, yeah, a very interesting one. Compliance. Compliance is all about being okay with all the regulations in terms of privacy, in terms of security. In Europe, we will have this NIS2 regulation coming up. So there's a lot of challenges that can determine whether an organization will subsist or not. If you are a supplier to electricity providers, big transport companies, food industry, as a subcontractor, you would also need to be fully compliant with all the regulations imposed. So are you ready for that? How do you start getting prepared? It's a combination of compliance and security. And it will have an impact on the share price, obviously. And if you do not succeed, some of your competitors may be at the winning hand. There is a lot of things that the CEO would be aware. Now, if we look at these concerns and we would then go into, and I'm going to go one question further, what would be a good opening question? If we are talking with this kind of profile, how could we trigger the interest in AI or in Copilot for that? So it is question 4 in the survey. And so I'm looking forward to good opening questions to start the conversation. Let me see. Okay, so how are you currently using AI in your business? How important is it for you to take good decisions? What are some of the most exciting developments in AI that you have seen recently? Yeah. How do you think AI would impact our lives in the future? Absolutely, yeah. So as we immediately sense, and please continue to feed the system with interesting questions. So we would be typically here not talking about artificial intelligence, but to that profile, it would definitely be about all kinds of business concerns that could be met with AI. So how are you currently using AI? Maybe, yeah, maybe they do, maybe they don't. What could you do with an extra hour in the day? That one always works. It's such a great opener. What is your main concern about AI? Yeah. What do you do within your company to engage with new trends regarding AI? Excellent. I love that one. Because you challenge the other person in 2 things, like, are you aware of AI and what are you doing? So, and you incite, you suggest that they do engage in new trends. So yeah, very powerful. What information would you like but do not have time to gather? Absolutely, yeah. If there's any other interesting suggestions, just feel free to add them. The form is open, but I think we've got kind of like a nice sample of questions that can open the thing. And then the next part would, of course, be what I'm just asking, because you must have heard about Copilot. How familiar are you with Microsoft Copilot? Question mark. Then we get this 0, 1, 2, or, oh, we are using it, or whatever. And then we can start argumenting or giving more information, like, for instance, the one that is on this slide here. What is an hour worth to you? So we actually have, and it may help, let me just put these in a black font because I think this might improve the readability. So what we have here is just like a short calculation, which I'm not going to run through in detail, but it would be if you win time. So why do we take 20 minutes? Because out of recent studies from companies who have been using Copilot, and this is one from a big Belgian telco operator, most of the users agree that they easily save up to 20 minutes per day. So 70% of the users engaged in Copilot in Microsoft 365 confirmed that it's up to 20 minutes of time savings. And so, which you see increased, because after 1 month, it was like only 33% that said that. And in the end, after the full period, it was like much higher. So this is one way of addressing it and making a little calculation how much that would represent. But also in terms of employee satisfaction, if we look at the war for talent today, which is something that keeps CEOs, but also HR managers and even everybody with a managing function within a company awake. It is, how do we attract the right people and how can we keep them? Well, we used to give them a good salary, a nice working environment, a car, maybe a phone, a computer, some fringe benefits like group insurance or whatever. Today, we could place Copilot and AI in that line of fringe benefits. It wouldn't be that much of a fringe benefit, but it would be a good benefit. It's like giving, or you'll know Superman. Superman in his normal clothes is, well, nothing more nor less than you or me, just someone living a good life. Now, once you give him his outfit, he gets extra powers. He can do things that someone else cannot do. Copilot is like that Superman suit. You give it to your employees and you enable them to do so. So if I'm searching for a job and I have the choice between two attractive propositions, but one is also providing me with more tools to, well, engage in my job, probably I will go for that one, right? And so that will also gain in terms of less job turnover and reduced cost. And a third one that is really interesting for CEOs, but also for any other function, is the fact that we will reduce the error rate. And if you look at how much errors causing correction time, causing correction cost, the use of AI may well be very useful there. When I say the use of AI, I'm referring to AI in general, because there is the one that we have just seen, the Copilot AI. But let's not forget that below the waterline, there is a lot of AI that is already present everywhere. I'm thinking of how platforms like Amazon, Spotify, Netflix use AI to keep track of who you are and kind of get you with the right messages, the right products at the right time. There is a large quantity of AI in the healthcare sector to analyze X-ray pictures. There is AI in production units. And in Belgium, you know, we are the land, or we used to be the land of beer brewing. And there is InBev, one of the largest beer manufacturers in Belgium. They now have a little robotic dog equipped with 2 AI sensors, one in front and one in the back. It's very funny. The one in front will detect leaks in the tubes. So it just walks 30 kilometers every day through all the pipes, and it learns to optimize the journey. And it senses leaks that even with human senses we could never sense. And the back is measuring the temperature of the pump system. And when there's a slight difference in temperature, this is an indication that this pump has a little problem. So they can do preemptive maintenance on that, which reduces the cost again. And it's a simple application of artificial intelligence in a narrow sense. It's an expert system. We've told it what to do, and it does, and it learns to do it better. But it does not learn new skills. It just optimizes what it does. Whereas generative AI, well, it learns, but it will also create new things. It will create text documents. It will create slides. It will create images if you want. And so that's the generative part of it. And so it works. And it's also good to have some proof points if you talk to customers to make sure that it's not only dreams that you sell, but you can also underbuild it with vast quantities of data. Okay, let's go back to our inquiry, which was on this slide, which again does not show up in the presentation mode. So I'm going to show it just like this. And one of the other questions, we have had the CEO. Now, if I would ask the marketeer, oh, we already have answers. That's cool. Let's have a look at the things you shared. It's about lack of business. Yeah. Competitors, finding new customers and reaching the right people, business and profit, hitting the target, staying up to date with the latest trends and technologies. Absolutely. Vendor relations, customer relations. Yeah, it's about market share. It's about also giving your customers this unique feeling like, hey, I'm your only customer and I'm treated like, wow, you know everything about me. A personalized approach, certainly in marketing, is very important. And in a sales role, the one we are all in, it's also a matter of making the difference, right? At the end of the day, if your customer has been talking to 5 people and their significant others would ask them, how was your day? Oh, good. And one specific conversation made my day, wow, then it better be the conversation you had and not the 4 competitors, right? So what can we do to make that difference? Well, we could use stuff like Copilot to get inspired, just to know how could I make this conversation like different from any other conversation? It will give you a lot of input, and then you can just customize it, do your thing with it, eliminate, rephrase, reprompt, etc. But it will definitely make a difference. Let's see where we are with the IT manager. Yeah, IT is at this very moment, it's all about security, cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. We all know, and if you don't know, you know it now, that Microsoft is integrating artificial intelligence throughout its security solutions. We'll have a specific session on security, so I'm not going to enter into detail right now. But AI is already omnipresent. It is what you saw in the house that we opened this session with. You remember, so this foundation house. I just say here, like, it's secure by design, you know? So it means that there's a lot of things already in there. And from a typical AI point of view, you remember that when we used the chats in Bing, that there was this protected thing, this sign here that says protected. It means that all company information, whether it is at rest or moving, is fully secured within that context. And with regard to Copilot in Microsoft 365, I think one concern they would all have is, yeah, but wait a minute, if one of my employees would ask, give me the salary of my direct boss, and this information is somewhere in an Excel sheet, can you guarantee that that person will not see that information? So it's about giving access. It's about document management. It's about identity management. So I think for IT people, it's like paradise to know that whatever they are doing with the Microsoft solution stack, they can leverage from what Microsoft does in field of security. And let's just not forget, they are like one of the biggest worldwide networks. If I was a hacker, honestly speaking, I would feel honored if I managed to intrude in the Microsoft network, and I would publish it everywhere. So you can imagine that Microsoft, with 400 and thousands of employees, millions of customers, and petabytes of data that they manage for these customers, they better do an extreme effort, right? Using AI, using a lot of advanced technology, and we can leverage from that. We use that, they make that filter through all of their solutions, including the whole AI part. And so Copilot is ethical, Copilot is secure, Copilot is fully built by the secure by design philosophy within the operations. And for the CFO, it's in stable markets, cash flow, balancing account, financial risks, dealing with regulatory changes, retention of talent, economy. Indeed, these are all great responses where the question is, of course, how can AI make a difference in that field? Well, I guess you can already kind of anticipate the answer, can't you? Just with a little thing I showed in Excel, but with so many other things. And you can use the chat. Who is familiar with something called Power Automate, for instance? The Power Tools by Microsoft. And you can say yes or no in the chat or by voice. Power Automate. Not personally, yeah. Maybe you have seen it somewhere, so it's part of that vast array of Microsoft 365 things. And if you would talk about, there's something I do and I have to click there and there and there and then send an email and then wait for an answer and then click or whatever. Well, obviously, Polly, you don't use it. I agree. I don't use it either. Well, I do a little bit, but it's just explaining a little bit how far AI has gone into making life easy for companies. And so we were talking about the CFO, about also the CEO, about getting things done in a more automated way. Now, without getting too much into detail, but I'm just going to open up that Power Automate thing. And what it actually does is it helps you to automate processes. Now, imagine you would do a customer event. Customers, you would create a form, put it on the website and say like, hey, dear customer, you can register for our event over here in that area. And then the customer would register and you would receive an email like this customer has registered for that event. And then it might, maybe the registration has to be sent to someone who says, okay, this one I approve. And then it has to go back, and then the customer needs to receive a sort of authentication or approval. Well, that is where Power Automate normally comes in if it works, let's say, the way it should be. It's not loading at this moment. But anyway, what I want to say here, without getting lost in details, is that normally, as you can see, this doesn't really invite. And certainly if you're not technical the way I am, it's like, wow. How do I start automating? Well, now with AI, you can just say it. You can just explain in your natural language, look, this is the business challenge I have. Please make an automated flow. And let's say like, please make an automated flow in which customers, maybe I shouldn't be typing too many errors, which customers can register for an event via a form and then get their registration approved by the event manager, receiving a confirmation mail for confirmation, and publish the registration in the event teams. Okay, so this is like very quickly what I asked. This is my business challenge. And so now it just say, this is what I would say, like, so we will create a form, then we will collect the responses, then there is this approval thing that will happen. And when it's good, this is what's going to happen. When it's rejected, this is what's going to happen. Can you live with that flow? Yes, I can. And so now it's just going to create the flow. And then, of course, I will need to add a few data and a few things, but I was like flabbergasted. Like when you just using your natural language, you can set up things where normally I wouldn't even know how to start doing all this. And so when people say like repetitive tasks gain time, now without even knowing how exactly it works, you can just say like, I've seen some interesting things in that Copilot thing, that now you can even just tell the AI assistant, hey, this is my business challenge. This is what I would like. And you just see what happens, right? This is really powerful. The same for another tool that's called Power Apps. We all have tons of applications on our phone. Imagine that a customer would say like, hey, our expenses today, we send an email and we attach the receipt and whatever, and then it also needs to be approved, blah, blah, blah. Well, with Power Apps, it's the same logic. You just say, I need an application to do this, click, and it will create an application you can publish on the phone of your employees. It's impressive what it does. And it's all AI driven. So all the questions that we may find or the ways in which we can inspire people. We first listen, but that's by now and by your experience, and then we just kind of look at the Copilot stack of possibilities, and we just launch a little bit of inspiration. So how can I use it to be more productive? We have seen added, what could you do in an extra hour? This one we had already. So it's these are absolutely very, very good responses. Now, obviously, people will be enthused, but they may also have objections. So let's see what came in as possible objections. Unsure. Please advise. I don't know if that was an invitation for me or whether it's something a customer may say. Security, data breaches, sharing information, absolutely. These are noteworthy possible objections with regards to AI. And as usual, we will say, I fully understand that concern, and let me tell you a little bit how Microsoft handles this. And the only thing to remember when it comes to AI is that it is fully integrated in your current security parameter, dear customer. So whatever tools you use, preferably Microsoft, obviously, if you have given rights to people to do things and you prevented them from doing other things, well, if they use AI within Microsoft 365 and Copilot will respect these limits. So all the information remains within your tenant, and I, as a user, will only have access to information that I have the right to open, to read, or to view. So, dear customer, and that's a cliffhanger for extra business, where are you in terms of security, in terms of data classification, in terms of organizing your data, right? Because imagine that you would have what is called sleeping data, Excel sheets and old Word documents you have never used in years, and they are still there somewhere. Nobody knows where they are, so nobody goes looking for them. But then there's Copilot, and someone says, hey, I look for information on that topic. Well, Copilot will find its way to that information. So are you aware that to use Copilot within Microsoft 365, maybe you might consider some preparations and some evaluation of where you are with regard to your tons of data that you have. So this could be an objection that you turn into a business opportunity by just proposing and making them honestly, in an honest way, aware. Data breach as well, not more or less than when you use Microsoft 365. A data breach could be that I use Copilot on my phone and I get some confidential information I have access to. And I say, oh, interesting, I'm going to copy that to my personal OneDrive. Or I'm talking to a competitor to change jobs, so I have this, I'm going to send this to my new future employee. Again, these are things you would need to take into consideration. And fortunately, Microsoft 365 or third-party tools for that include possibilities to really manage these devices, prevent people from making screenshots, prevent people from copying information into their personal registry. So it's all there. Some customers have never used it because they say, hey, we trust in our people. But now that AI comes in, it might be a good moment to reconsider this and make sure that everybody is aligned on the same page and that they're all aware of what the potential is, but also what the preparations might be. Now, with regard to the questions that we can ask, I think you're all familiar with the traditional ways of scrutinizing your customer. Where do you want to go to? Who is involved? What is your current situation? What would be the desired outcome? What is the implication of the current problem? How much does it weigh? And what would you exactly need, or what can we provide you to do it? Within the slides that, of course, you will get, as well as the recording of this session, you will also find examples, which we're not going to run through now, of possible questions for each of these models. So what is now? Where would you like to go to? What criteria do you use to make decisions? What criteria should we be able to offer? And what will be the effects once you're there? So we've got like a series of interesting questions that you can use. But obviously, and I don't have to repeat it, there is also Copilot. I'm having this conversation with a customer coming up. Give me 5 questions I could ask using the bump model, using the triple P rack model, using whatever model that you like to use, and just interact with the Copilot as you would with someone that would be your personal coach. Or obviously book 15 minutes with me and I will be your authentic piece of intelligence as feedback board or soundboard. There's the persuasion questions, pain-oriented questions, restriction issues, wave effects. So just by way of inspiration, I included them, and so you can use them freely and do what you want. But my favorites will always be these ones. They're, by the way, also described in the book Beyond Words. So if you would use the chat bot and you would ask for triple P rack, you will find a little bit of explanation on this model, but it's a cascade model where we start with how will you know, if we go to the future, how will you know that you took a series of good decisions, you see? Who will be impacted or affected by these decisions, and in what positive way, preferably? Will it have an impact on the priorities, and in what way will it add up to them? How will things be done in the new way? How will you do it? What will you be doing, and more or less or not anymore? And how will it affect the whole context to help you move forward? And so these are very interesting approaches where you can use AI as the topic, or you can use security as the topic, or any of the other items that we have dealt with. And then there is the final part that will also be in the slide deck. But use also the replies from the presentation and the forms. It's about concerns. They will always be the same. I don't know what it is. I don't control it. Is it safe? Can we rely on the answers? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. So that's a little bit where we would be in terms of handling the objections. I hate the word handling the objections. It's more like inspiring the customer positively to eliminate pending questions, because objections are just pending questions on things that are not really clear or that could be clarified by us if we take the time to do it. So, as a wrap up, what have we seen in this session? Maybe one of you can kind of summarize. Who feels informed to kind of just summarize what you take away from this session? Do we hear a voice? Someone quickly leaves the chat. I don't want to participate. Anyone? Anyone feeling to
I think so. This is Polly. I think
Hi,
I
Polly.
would say I've come away from this session with a very high level understanding of what Microsoft Copilot is. I've understood some of the conversation openers that we have with different levels of customer, CTO, and different roles, and how I could engage them in the conversation. And I think I've also got an understanding of how I can use Copilot and therefore initiate this conversation more confidently.
Excellent. Thank you for that return. Anyone else feeling like sharing some summary ideas about what we have been doing in the past hours, 2 hours? You can also, and I will share that link as well. I'm just opening it up. So this is the QR code, but there is also a link that I will paste in the chat, which is coming up right now. And I would really appreciate the feedback forms. And in return, you will get the full stack of slide materials, the recordings, and other useful information. So please take a moment to share your feeling, your opinion, your suggestion about how we can maybe improve the upcoming sections and interactions that we will have. So take a moment. I strongly insist to share whatever you want to share in that form. And meanwhile, I still feel like a penguin, even a penguin on a Monday morning without the flu, happy, ready for the next steps. And I hope you are having the same feelings and emotions after what we did this morning. Thank you very much for having been here. I'm still open to questions if you have anything you want to know, but maybe after 2 hours, your brain is largely satisfied. I'll leave you a moment to fill out the form. And from the studio over here in Belgium, I wish you an excellent week, and I look forward to the next interaction, which will be either on security, Azure, or services. I would have to check the agenda. You're welcome, Danielle.
Thank you very much. It was very productive.
Have a wonderful day, and I hope you
Bye-bye.
can start using the information right away.